All right, guys, it's Bible story time. You guys like Bible stories? Now, when you first think of Bible story, your brain goes to Noah, Jonah, Abraham, Moses, all these different characters, Adam. You go to all these different characters in the Bible. Joshua, I could go on and on. Of all the Bible stories that you hear maybe in Sunday school or growing up, but that's where your brain goes. But today I want to tell you about a woman, one of the many stories of a woman coming to leadership, listening to God and doing exactly what God wanted her to do. So I want to tell you that today. All right, this is a story about Deborah, a character in the Old Testament. So she was way before Christ, shortly after Moses. Now here's the scene of Deborah and how she comes into the story and how God used her. So I really want to encourage the girls who tune into my channel, who subscribe, that listen, God uses you. God uses women. God looks for women to serve his purposes. And time again throughout the Bible, throughout God's written, inspired word, you see women rising to the occasion, listening to God and fulfilling what he has for them. So I encourage you today with this story about Deborah. Now here's the scene. Moses, as we know, led the Israelites out of Pharaoh's control in Egypt, looking for the promised land, because God promised them that he would give them the beautiful land of Canaan, which is now Israel. He was going to give them that, but so many things happened under Moses' reign that he wound up not being able to bring most of the people into Canaan because they saw it and they were too scared. And that's a story within itself. They were too scared to go there because the people were giants. They were big people. So many things happening there, and they thought that they would be overtaken. So God punished their fear by making them wander in the desert for 40 years, a whole generation, until that generation died off. A new generation came up. Joshua was the leader of them. So Moses taught Joshua everything he knew, and he then became the main guy and led the people finally into that promised land, and they were able to take it. Then the tribes broke up into the 12 tribes of Israel and inhabited the land. So during that time, this is now 3 generations away from Moses, because you have Moses, then you have Joshua, then you have the people that Joshua led into that area, and they broke into their 12 tribes to inhabit. So guess what? Throughout the Old Testament, you see the Jewish people leaning on God, loving God, serving God, getting too independent, getting too comfortable, falling away from God, getting desperate, calling on God. It's a series of up and down. It's a roller coaster all throughout the Old Testament of the Jewish people falling in and out of favor with God. So this season with the 12 tribes after Moses, after Joshua, this season, they were falling away from God once again, even though they were living in the promised, beautiful, fully enriched land that they were promised. So King Jabin of the Canaanites, the original Canaanites, was still kind of taunting them, taunting the tribes, especially 2 of the tribes, where he was really wanting to take back that land, get them run out to get his land back. So King Jabin had a commander called Sisera. Sisera was a guy who's this big burly guy who's got an army. He's got all this equipment, all this money and riches, where he's got iron chariots and all of the latest weaponry that he can have in his army. So this is going on where King Jabin's trying to put together an army with Sisera to take over these 2 tribes and get that land back, and just continually taunting them. Up arises Deborah. God speaks to Deborah. She becomes a judge in that area, one of the many judges during that time that God raised up. And she was a prophetess also. So God spoke to her of what was going to happen and what needed to happen so that she could put the thing together to make it happen. He told her, I'm going to deliver King Jabin, his army, Sisera, into your hands, but you need to raise up somebody to get 10,000 warriors together, 10,000 fighters. I want you to go up into Mount Tabor and wait as I deliver the enemy into your hands. So Deborah finds Barak, who's a leader, who's a burly man also on her side. She goes to Barak and she says, hey, God told me that he's going to deliver King Jabin and Sisera and the Canaanites into our hands. We're going to defeat them. You need to raise up 10,000 guys, go up into Mount Tabor, and wait on God to deliver them. This is what God told me to do. Of course, Barak didn't just do it. He said, him hauled around a little bit and said, okay, I'll do it, but I want you to come with me. I want you to be in the mountains with me because you have direct access to God. He's speaking to you. His favor is obviously on you. I want you with me. So a case where God clearly used a lady, clearly had her in the mountains with these 10,000 fighters to be able to lead them into their battle, which is crazy to think about, that a woman was picked out to do this in our mindset, in our tainted way of thinking. So erase all of that. God uses women. So that's exactly what happened. Deborah and Barak go up into the mountains with the 10,000 men. Here comes Sisera with his army because God led them into there with 900 iron chariots and all of their warriors coming into the battle. Well, there was a lake, a riverbed area at the foot of the mountain. And God knew about it, and he knew that's where he was going to trap them. So as they had tried to approach the mountain, the chariots and the horses and the warriors got stuck in the mud. It was so boggy, so thick, so treacherous to them that they couldn't get out. They were stuck. So the 10,000 men come rushing down. They were able to defeat all of the warriors, take the chariots, take the horses, kill everybody there except Sisera. Sisera escaped out the back door. When he saw that they were stuck and he saw the 10,000 men coming down, he slithered away like a coward, slithered back to the line of the country line where he was, and he came across Jael. Jael's tent is another lady in the picture who's very key to the story. Jael's family had an agreement with King Jabin, so she was known to be a safe family. So Sisera went to her and said, please protect me. The enemy's coming. I want you to help me. I'm thirsty. I'm tired. I've been in battle. I need rest. Can you please give me something to drink, something to eat, and help me? So she did. She fed him. She gave him something to drink. She covered him up with a blanket, with a lamb's hide, covered him up, and he said, listen, if somebody comes for me, you tell them you don't know where I am. Help me, protect me. So the story gets a little dark here. When he falls asleep, Jael, being called by God to finish the story, gets a spike from the tent, puts it on his temple with a hammer, and hammers the spike into his temple through his head and nails him to the floor of the tent. Pretty gruesome story, but wow, what a lady to be able to do that for God, to deliver the enemy and to complete the story. So you've got Deborah on one side, Jael on the backside, Barak in the middle. All of this team happened because of these two women that God called to deliver the Canaanites finally into the hands of the Jewish people. The Jewish people enjoyed that season and enjoyed the defeat of the Canaanite army and was able to win favor back with God, and then became more dependent. Once again, the roller coaster ride back up again in favor with God. But it all started with Deborah listening to God and being smart and obeying God and following through with the plan that God had for her. So I encourage you today to pray and find out what God has for you, what service he has for you, what big mission he might have for you. Because don't think it's a guy thing. The battle of the army is men and women. We are all fighters and ambassadors for Christ. God doesn't specify out that males are the ambassador children of God. Women are ambassadors and children of God as well. So tap into what he has for you. You were designed and born and made and created for a specific purpose. Find out what that is. Don't be scared to achieve it. Look on to Deborah. Read that story yourself, Deborah and Jael, and how they worked together to really bring about God's purposes. So I encourage you with that story today. If you like stuff like this, I ask that you subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you hit the little notification bell, so when I do post videos, you'll get a little email to let you know that something new has happened, and you can come check it out. Tell your friends about it. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for stopping by.